Good evening, council, staff, and members of the public. May I have a mover and seconder to call the meeting to order, please? I have councillors Garwood and Alexander. That the regular meeting of the Council of Springwater Township of June 18th, 2025 come to order at 6:34 p.m. All those in favor? And that has carried. Please join me in the singing of O Canada. Thank you. Council, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest this evening? Not seeing any. At this time, I will turn to Councillor Moore.
Thank you. I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge concerns that were raised regarding comments made at our last council meeting toward our valued colleague, Clerk Marshall. While I don't believe it was anyone's intention to create any discomfort or miscommunication, I understand that perceptions and experiences can vary, and I certainly regret anything that was said or was taken by myself or anyone else in a way that caused frustration or unease. A good reminder that our clerk is not a member of council, even though she sits with us and such should be treated as a respectful member. I have great respect for the important work Clerk Marshall contributes to our team and remain committed to fostering a respectful and collaborative environment. I believe we all benefit when we extend to each other patience, understanding, and professionalism. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. At this time, we have no deputations or presentations, so we move on to question period, and I will turn to Clerk Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. We have had one registered question period submission by Mr. Mike Harris. Do you want to please come forward?
Good evening, Mr. Harris. If I can ask for your name and address, and I will remind you that there are 2 minutes.
Yes.
Oh,
Sure, there's a lot behind me. My name is Michael Harris. I live at 12 Heatherwood Drive in Midhurst. Trying to maintain this 2-minute window. I'll keep it relatively short. Believe it or not, I have concern with our transportation master plan. I just wanted to bring up some new information from a study that was actually just released with CAA in partnership with MyoVision. What they did is they installed cameras in 20 different intersections across the country and using AI to analyze that data over 7 months. This is concerning. What they found over 7 months, there was over 600,000 near fatal near misses with pedestrians and cyclists. That is 1 per day per intersection over the 7 months. That is absolutely absurd. I assume that our intersections are no different. This is such an incredible safety hazard. We have studies, we have evidence that we know this system doesn't work. It isn't safe, it isn't efficient, it isn't cost effective. Why are we continuing down this wrong path? We need to stick our necks out and make a difference. It's up to you all as councillors. It's not up to the engineers and planners because they work with the constraints that you give them. We need to have a look at this TMP and stop doing the same mistakes we've been doing for so long. Oh, sorry, there's a question. It's not really related to this. My question was why, sorry, I forget what I wrote in. What are traffic mitigations plans in the TMP for specifically 26, 27 through Midhurst, since there are no plans for bike lanes or other alternate means of transportation?
Thank you, Mr. Harris, and I thank you again for your enthusiasm and passion on this. I'd also like to thank our team, our staff, for continuing to be in collaboration with you and being available to you. And we look forward to any advice that you're bringing forward to this council. So thank you again for being here this evening.
Thank you.
We will now move on to our minutes. May I have a mover and seconder for the approval of our council minutes, please? I have Deputy Cabral and Councillor Moore, that the minutes of council listed herein be approved and presented. Minutes of the regular meeting of council of June 4th, 2025. Are there any questions or comments on these minutes? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that has carried. We are now moving on to our boards and committees. May I have a mover and seconder for the boards and committee minutes, please? Councillor Moore and Councillor Alexander, that the minutes of the boards and committees and other organizations listed herein be received for information. It's the minutes of the Agricultural Advisory Committee meeting of April 8th, 2025. Any questions or comments on this? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that has carried. And we're just requesting a printed agenda as we have a small computer, but we won't blame Michael though, don't worry. So in front of us now, council, we have item 7.1, request to consider consent for the County of Simcoe bylaw 711925 to change the composition of county council from the County of Simcoe. May I have a mover and seconder for this, please? I have Deputy Cabral and Councillor Garwood. That the correspondence from the County of Simcoe regarding the request to consider consent of the County of Simcoe bylaw 711-25 to change the composition of county council be received. And at this time, I feel I will turn to our deputy for opening remarks. Deputy Cabral.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. In a nutshell, this has been before County Council for a bit, and it basically speaks to the reduction in the number of members comprising County Council from 32 down to 16, with the addition of a full-time warden. And I think the full-time warden would have the lowest weighted vote as per the rest of the members. I believe the weighted vote stays the same currently for each municipality. Of course, there'd only be one person there now to be pushing voting. So this here is for us as a council to either determine whether or not this council approves of the reduction from 32 to 16 with the full-time warden, or whether or not this council determines that they would prefer status quo and it stays at 32. And I think that particular option also still has a full-time warden, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, that's out. That would come down the road. So that's the gist of it. It's been before council before, just as an information piece, but that's the gist of it.
Thank you. I also have comment, but I can open it up to the floor for members of council for any comments or questions prior to. Not seeing any. This is something that I have been championing for last term and this term, and not just for myself, but it's actually been quite to the surprise of members of the House. It might just be because the county office is in Springwater, but members of Springwater are engaged, and they do question why we need to have the largest sitting council in Ontario in Springwater. It has been brought to my attention and to the deputy's attention through members. And it was actually alarming that other members of county council hadn't been hearing from residents as in comment of the composition. to be quite frank, when I first got on council, I thought maybe eliminating the county was the way to go. I felt that there was too many levels of governance. Realizing the services and the regional services that are provided by the county, it is something that we absolutely need to have in place. When you do the math and the per diem, every time county council sits, it's over $10,000. I do feel that we can provide the same effective and efficient representation to our residents with half the amount, which for half the dollars. This is something that I have heard from our residents that they are in support of, and I'm looking forward to this council being in full support of this. It was brought forward in our last term, and we did not get to the 2/3 majority. So this is the furthest this has come in decades. So I'm glad that it's here. I'm glad it's before us, and I'm glad that we have an opportunity to have a say in what the composition of the county continues to look. Deputy Cabral.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And I think too that we did move this from the May the 7th, a regular meeting in order to try and capture some input from residents. And I was just curious to know if we received anything that was noteworthy, any particular comments that were, specific to the composition one way or the other. Noteworthy ones, not specifically about the number of people who may have responded. I don't know if that's available tonight.
To my knowledge, and I'll turn to the clerk to confirm, but to my knowledge, there has been zero correspondence from residents through the official channels. I have received phone calls from the same people that were, and I'm not going to pretend to bolster this into whatnot. It's about 5 people who pay very, very diligent attention, but I will turn to Clerk Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. So, yeah, this item was deferred from the May 7th meeting, as the Deputy Mayor had mentioned. We did get it in our May and June direct mailer to residents, as well as did push it out quite a bit on our social media. In terms of the municipality, the clerk's department didn't receive any comments from residents on the topic. But I would also note that as part of the process before the bylaw was passed at County Council, I believe the county did hold a public meeting that residents were able to come out to as well.
And Councillor Alexander and then Councillor Garwood.
Just quickly to note, again, not that I received calls in droves, but I did have people reach out. I have had this conversation with residents that they do feel that it's not necessary to have 2 per municipality. So it's something that I personally am also supportive of, but it is what I have heard from people that have reached out is that they would like us to support moving forward with a smaller county.
Thank you, Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. In similar fashion, what Councillor Alexander is indicating, I haven't heard from many folks on this matter, but from the moment that this came out, I was in support of a smaller composition. Again, I think smaller government, hopefully more can get done, and the same representation can be at that table across our county. Again, and I wanted to thank both the mayor and the deputy mayor for advocating and representing the township of Springwater at the county table. Through the mayor to either the mayor, the deputy mayor, or the clerk, just for the public's sake, could you just outline the next steps that are in this process, understanding that the township of Springwater is one of 16 municipalities, while the county's first step to get this to the lower tiers has occurred. This is one more hurdle, but there's further to go. If you could just outline that, I'd appreciate it.
And thank you. So through the act, this requires a triple majority. So it would be sent down from the county to the lower tiers. What this will require is that the majority of the 16 municipalities are in favor. And the triple comes in that of those 16, the majority needs to also hold the majority of the population or the weight. So if there's 9 municipalities that vote in favor of it, but it's the smaller municipalities, they wouldn't hold the weight. So it not only needs to be the majority of municipalities, but also the majority of residents within the county of Simcoe. And council, as I feel that this is an extremely important decision, I will be recalling a recorded vote on this. I think that it sends a message from Springwater that So with your indulgence, Clerk Marshall, a recorded vote, please.
My mic. Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. So the motion on the floor right now is to just receive the correspondence. I would need a mover and seconder for the amendment that would read that Council of the Township of Springwater consents to the County of Simcoe bylaw, being a bylaw to change the composition of council of the corporation of the County of Simcoe, and that a copy of this resolution be sent to the county clerk. So I'd need that first.
And thank you. In light of not having two recorded votes, we will have the amendment as stands and then the resolution as amended with a recorded vote. So the mover and seconder for the amendment, please. I have Councillor Alexander and Councillor Garwood. And this is on the amendment. Council, all those in favor? And that has carried. And we move now on to the main motion as amended with a recorded vote, please.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. So the motion being called for a recorded vote is that the correspondence from the County of Simcoe regarding a request to consider consent of County of Simcoe bylaw 7119-25 to change the composition of county council be received, and that the Council of the Township of Springwater consents to the county bylaw being a bylaw to change the composition of council of the corporation of the County of Simcoe, and that a copy of this resolution be sent to the county clerk. A recorded vote has been called, and when I call your name, please state yes or no. Councillor Garwood,
Yes.
Councillor Alexander,
Yes.
Councillor Moore,
Yes.
Councillor Fisher,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Cabral,
Yes.
Mayor Coughlin.
Yes.
That is carried.
We are now moving on to correspondence received. And this is item 7.2, correspondence from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Office of the Provincial Land Development Facilitator regarding the facilitation process of June 2nd. May I have a mover and seconder for this, please? Councillor Fisher. And Deputy Cabral. That correspondence from the Midhurst Landowners Group dated June 2nd, 2025 regarding the future residential, community and employment lands in Springwater be received for information. And now I will turn to council for any comments or questions on this. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Just wondering if there is an appetite on council to create a standing item on the agenda for correspondence received to the boundary adjustment discussions. So that we're not, I mean, we do have the CIP discussion later, but I think as a standing item where people can go quickly and find what information is out there, I think that this should be considered.
Thank you for that. And yes, there has been discussion with the deputy CAO and myself and amongst staff that it would be a pertinent way to have this put forward. I also think that when it comes specific to this letter, I do have a amendment that I would like to place on that, which would require the deputy to chair. But yes, that is noted, and I don't see that to be feasible. Any other comments or questions before Deputy Cabral?
Thank you. And on that last note, Mayor Coughlin, I know that we've been updating a while back the information regarding the boundary adjustment on our website. There was a dedicated area to it. Is this stuff also being posted to that in the same fashion that we're providing it to our legal representative?
Thank you for the question. I will turn to our deputy. So I do believe that our deputy CAO Ainsworth has been in communication with our lawyer and has provided anything that has, since the date of resolution, anything further that has come in has also been passed along to the lawyer to ensure that there's a fulsome, we're not excluding anything from that date, but I will turn to CAO Ainsworth.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, through you to council. Yes, I can confirm anything that does come in as it comes in, as has been provided to legal. As far as updating of the township webpage in this regard, I would have to look into that and get back to you.
Anything further on this correspondence? At this time, I would like to turn the chair to Deputy Cabral for an amendment.
Okay, thank you very much. Mayor Coughlin, and I understand you have an amendment to present.
Thank you for that. As noted in this 155-page correspondence, there is a significant, in my opinion, significant indication that the servicing component for Midhurst or for Springwater would require what is being called the second phase of the Midhurst secondary plan. This is in this 155 pages alluding to the necessity for an additional 10,000 homes in Midhurst and in Springwater. I will be receiving this correspondence this evening, but I do not want any member of the public to feel that I am endorsing this. This is not something that I've ever heard Midhurst asking for. 10 years ago, there was a very loud message sent to this council about the Midhurst secondary plan to suggest that we can bring on another 10,000 homes when we haven't even built out the existing 10,000 that are on the books. I think that it is far too much for this township to even consider. I think it's unfortunate that this was not brought forward to us in a delegation that highlighted it, brought forward the maps, and not just simply put correspondence on an agenda in 155 pages. This information has been brought to the county and has been brought to the province and is now part of the discussions, the broader discussions with the City of Barrie boundary adjustment. I would like to put forward an amendment whereby this information package is sent to our engineers, Ainley and Associates, who have been part of the EA process since day one through the Midhurst secondary plan, to have them come forward to this council and present their findings to ground truth the assumptions that are being made. And I would be looking for a seconder for that, please.
Sorry, anybody seconding the motion? Councillor Garwood? And is there any comments to be made? Councillor Moore?
Thank you. Just to clarify in the documents, though, the additional housing is over the course of the next 30 years. So it's not something that would happen right away. It's 30 years, and in some cases, for the City of Barrie, it could be 40 years. So I just want to make a point.
Councillor Fisher?
I have to say there's a bit of a retelling of history there. Yes, about a decade ago, much of Midhurst was in opposition to the Midhurst secondary plan and growth in those areas. But I also have to say, logically, giving land to Barrie so they can then have that growth and build it doesn't seem very logical to me either. So to say that we don't want 10,000 homes to be built, I think we're actually saying that we don't want 10,000 homes to be built in Springwater. But it still would be. It would be built right beside us. So again, I've heard this before, and I'm not seeing the logic in it. The homes will be built anyway, like Councillor Moore said, over 30 and 40 years. But what we're proposing then is to give it to Barrie so they can build on the very same plots of land. So once again, and I know we've had this discussion before, I don't see the logic in it.
Mayor Coughlin?
Thank you. And Councillor Fisher, I could agree with that if the identified lands were within the negotiation of the City of Barrie. But if you go through the 155 pages, the identified lands are not the same lands. It is the Splash Canyon lands, it is lands amongst the Forbes, it is lands in and around Midhurst, not the City of Barrie. So the lands that we're discussing are completely separate. They are not the same lands. So if we were to move forward with the City of Barrie and these lands, the complete fabric or landscape of Midhurst, in my opinion, would be destroyed. And that is not something I want to see.
Thank you. Councillor Fisher?
Following. I think if we're giving away 4,300 acres, the complete fabric of Springwater will be destroyed. So to say that, I stand to be corrected. It's not the exact pieces of land, but it's still a large number of homes being built by Barry here. I also think that to say that the fabric will stay the same because we go ahead with this, it's a falsehood. It's a complete falsehood. It will change. It will change drastically if we give 4,300 acres to Barry, and we won't have any control over it. So.
Anybody else like to speak? Councillor Alexander?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Cabral. So I don't have an issue putting this back to staff for report because I think that's probably what would have happened had they come to do a delegation. But I question the why we're concerned. This is a long-standing partner with the township. To infer almost that the information is that they're giving us is not in the best interest of Springwater. To be quite frankly, as I think it's a bit insulting to them. And I'm not saying everything they've written is correct. And I'm again happy to go back to staff, but I think we need to choose our words carefully. This is a longstanding partner who has helped this township grow to where it is, and we need to keep that in mind and make sure we're always being respectful.
Councillor Garwood?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Cabral. Just adding on to some of the comments here. I don't see this as a negative approach. We've spoken about, I know I have as well, getting the information out there, ensuring we're doing our due diligence. While I understand what Councillor Alexander is saying, at the same time, I don't see it as inferring a mistruth. I see it as us doing our due diligence as we would with any partner. Whatever information comes forward, we should have our staff internally, Ainley, our engineers, review the matter to be able to provide the best possible sound advice to the seven of us. I see it as one more opportunity to gather information, and if the information that has been presented is sound, which I surely hope it is, then there should be nothing to be concerned about.
All right, Councillor Moore?
Thank you. Thank you. I have no issue with the peer review. I think that's perfectly fine. I just and I'm happy that it is Ainley because they have been a partner also over the course of the last 20 years. And who knows our township better than Ainley. So I'm happy to go along with that. I think though to the other comments about the housing, which fits in with the provincial priorities right now, and it meets the provincial priorities today that weren't necessarily in effect 5 and 10 years ago. I think we need to just be cognizant that times are very different today. You know, what we're being asked of today is very different. And so the public realizes it. They know that we have to build houses. The province wants us to build houses fast and furious. And if we're going to build them, we build them in Springwater where we can also reap the benefits. So that's how I feel about 10,000 houses.
Councillor Fisher?
Councillor Moore touched on something very pertinent. We reap the benefits. You know, we sit here and we talk about the hub. We design the hub, right? It's going to be very costly. Major infrastructure projects like Craig Road, which I talk incessantly about. There are many things that are dependent upon development charges. As one farmer in the agri meeting said the other day, if growth is going to happen, wouldn't we want to capture those dollars? So I don't see any logic in sending that land to Barry. I think that Springwater needs to be, as one resident said to me, in control of our own destiny. So this is the road that we need to take without question.
Thank you, Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Cabral. And just on to Councillor Moore's comments regarding the 10,000 homes. I think the public, though, needs to be very aware and understand that should this be the route that this council endorses in the future, regardless where the boundaries are, if we're saying there's going to be homes, if this data is saying there's going to be homes, many of us lived in the township of Springwater through the MSP discussions, and we saw how concerned not only the southern part of this municipality was regarding the projected growth over 10, 20, 30 years. That's what this is again. Understanding, I agree with Councillor Moore. Times have changed. There is a provincial mandate. We know the province wants houses built. They have been unapologetic about it. And we also understand that to a certain extent, we are here to push forward some of those mandates. But at the same time, the public needs to be very aware that this is the alternative option. It's yes, we can say no to the city of Barrie, but at the same time, saying no to the city of Barrie still means there is significant growth within the boundaries of the township of Springwater, and the landscape of the southern part of this municipality will change. I know I'm not saying anything up here that any of us here don't already understand that. It says it in the information that has been provided, and I look forward to the peer review. But we need to be very clear with the public about this, regardless of where it takes us. But I'm happy to see that Ainley will review this. I agree with Councillor Moore. Ainley knows this municipality best.
Thank you. Mayor Coughlin.
Thank you. And I just wanted to clarify that in no way were my comments in any disrespect to our longstanding partner. The very first term that I ran was during the Stop the Midhurst Secondary Plan, and I have supported the Midhurst Secondary Plan wholeheartedly since that day. I have never wavered in that support, and it was not until this new map, this new idea was presented that I began to question why. Why do we need 10,000 more homes to fund a wastewater treatment facility that was being designed and funded to take on the effluent of the existing 10,000? Why do we now need 10,000 more? That is the question I have. It's not questioning the integrity or the generosity or the commitment of that developer. It is simply, I want this to be a public, open conversation, and I want it to be peer reviewed.
Okay, thank you. I think I'm just going to say a few comments here. First off, I have no problem that this was presented at county first, because there were things that happened at this council that the county wasn't made aware of first. So tit for tat, I guess, in that respect. The information is before us now, and I think the county has a valid role to play in this entire thing of development, of infrastructure, all of those things. When it comes to these particular homes, the way I look at this is the same as the 401 corridor out to Pickering, Bowmanville, Oshawa, and the same thing for the QEW all the way out to Niagara Falls. And the last vestige here of that type of infrastructure with a major thoroughfare is the 400. So for us to sit here and think that development is not going to take place, I think we're just fooling ourselves. If you go out to Oshawa, Camp Samac used to be about 100 acres there. It's a tiny little place, and it's homes like you wouldn't believe all around it. People need a place to live. And a lot of people are moving to areas like Barrie, areas like Springwater. I mean, one of the reasons they come to Springwater is because our taxes are lower than those in the city of Barrie. So for us to think that 10,000 homes is a lot, I'll be honest with you, it's not over the course of 30 years. And I'd rather see this council, this municipality, be the authors of that development going forward and reap the benefits from that development. In addition to that, whatever development might take place on the expansion lands that may or may not be annexed, I'd prefer to see Springwater Township be in a position to direct development there too, because they're still going to be right next door. And for us to think that it's not going to happen, we're just burying our heads in the sand. I mean, you talk about why do we need 10,000 homes? We need 10,000 homes for 10,000 families. That's what's going to happen. It's going to grow and grow and grow. All of these studies show that that's exactly what's going to happen, not just in the general area around Barrie, but across Simcoe County as a whole. So as far as having someone else look at the data, it doesn't bother me one way or the other, but I have no issues over the course of 30 years to find out that our wastewater plant, if it's able to support this type of infrastructure, this type of development, along with everything that goes with it, as Councillor Fisher alluded to, the hub, Craig Road, and some of the other roadways that are going to become major thoroughfares as well as Springwater continues to grow. For us to feel that it's going to stay the same right now, I think it's not going to, but at least if we're in control, we get the opportunity to direct that development as we move forward. So take a comment from Councillor Fisher.
I'm glad you brought up the county and taxation. I fielded calls night and day from people since our last meeting asking me about what this means, and taxation's come to the forefront over and over again. We are going to see a massive increase in taxes here to support our small municipality. We're still going to need policing. We're still going to have to fund our municipality. So people get ready for higher taxes if this goes through. And I think too, it hurts the county as well. You know, people ask me about which services, and I have lengthy conversations with them. This is not good for us. It's ill-conceived, but it will hurt us financially on an individual. We talk about family on an individual basis. It will hurt individual families in Midhurst or in Springwater. But I wanted to ask a question. What was the county you mentioned, Deputy Mayor Cabral? What was the county not aware of? You'd mentioned in your prelude.
Well, I guess I'm kind of being put on the spot. I'm the one who asked the question, and the question was, at what point in time did the county become aware of the joint proposal that was put together by City of Barrie Mayor Alex Nuttall and our mayor, Mayor Coghlan? I think it was May the 7th, maybe May the 9th was the Friday. And the answer I got from the warden was that they found out when it was basically put out, same as we did. And that was confirmed by the general manager, Elliott, if I'm not mistaken, who also indicated that that's when they found out too. So that's why I guess I made the comment, it's tit for tat. You know, we knew something that they weren't aware of. And then these homes, which to be quite honest with you, they have a vested interest in this as well. They didn't know about it, or we didn't know about it, but we certainly do now. I'm sorry, follow on?
Comment, and I apologize for putting you on the spot, Deputy Mayor Cabral. I just have to say, as the deputy warden, for them not to be apprised of this, what was happening, I don't think that's right. Right, I think that's hiding it from county, and I think that they should have been apprised as to what was going on. It affects county in the millions, if not more, and it affects their future. So I think they should have been apprised of it, given your position, especially.
Mayor Coghlan, this will be the last, and then I'll take Councillor Moore, and then maybe I'll vote, decide what we're going to do with this.
Thank you.
ahead.
And through the chair, if you could also speak to the meetings leading up to that decision with the county. If you could speak to the meetings following the announcement with the county that was set on that Friday of that announcement. Met with the county the next day. If you could also speak to the weekly meetings that we have in Springwater invited the county to participate in with the facilitator to keep apprised of the process as we move forward.
Well,
To suggest that I am unilaterally excluding the county in my roles, I will be very clear that when it comes to the negotiations with the city of Barrie, my Springwater hat is first and foremost. And the county has offered me the opportunity. The county has met with the facilitator without me there present as deputy warden. The county has met with Oro-Medonte without me there present as deputy warden. The county has met without me present as deputy warden because I asked to be able to be in this negotiation process as the mayor of Springwater first. That was awarded or afforded to me by CAO Aiken and by Basil or Warden Clark. So this is not tit for tat. This is a discussion. This was a respectful of our positions and the, I'm going to say, somewhat difficult positions that wearing two hats during a discussion may have. So there is no ill intent. There is no tit for tat.
Well, Mayor Cogan, I'm not going to argue the point. The point was that when that statement was made, the county was unaware it was going to be made. And that's simply the point on that. Whether or not they're invited to certain facilitation meetings, that's totally different. That was one in and of itself specific to a joint statement put out by yourself and Mayor Coughlin and Mayor Alex Nuttall. So I don't know if we're going to continue this discussion, but I'm hopeful that we don't, because I think it's just going to take us down the wrong road.
And my final comment would be, what I believe this discussion to be about was an announcement that was made by Mayor Nuttall at a big city's. I would have to go back and find the title of the conference to which both CAO Aiken and Basil Clark were attending. An announcement was made by Mayor Nuttall prior to the announcement being made public. I have no control over that. The disrespect that was felt by the county, in my opinion, did not come from Springwater Township.
I think Councillor Moore had her hand up.
Thank you. I just wanted to go back to the relationship piece with the Midhurst Landowners Group. And I just want to say quickly that for 20 years, they've been a fantastic partner to us. Not only have they done what they said they were going to do, which is in a lot of cases not what comes to fruition, they've done a fantastic job. But more recently, they also helped us secure the Hughes funding. And I'm hoping that Director Harvey can speak to the Hughes funding and what that does for our infrastructure over in Snow Valley, if that's possible.
Director Harvey.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor and Chair, through you to Council. Obviously, the Hughes funding is going to help us with our wastewater component. At this point, what's before you tonight is for the agenda is just seeking authorization. But be honest with you, we've struggled to get this across the finish line with the landowners group. It's been very difficult. We've been working on it for, well, the funding I did previously almost 8 months ago. And for the last 4 months, we've been trying to ascertain what really that group is wanting to build. So, but having said that, we're hoping that now we can move forward with something. The ball's in their court to deliver, and we're hoping that they can award something and we can start this long overdue infrastructure. Right now, we have a phase 1 for 1,500 units, and it's temporary, and that's what's in the ground right now. But we're hoping to move forward with the ultimate plant and hoping that we can see this through to fruition.
One.
Thank you. So just to confirm, were they involved in the application for the grant for the Hughes funding?
Sorry, through you,
Director Harvey.
Thank you. Through you to Councillor Moore. Certainly they were a component of it because obviously they have to deliver what we were applying for. But having said that, the grant is between the province and the township. It's not with the landowners group, and what you'll see coming before you shortly will be we'll need another external works agreement where it outlines what the conditions are for us to get a cost recovery mechanism for the funding. But the funding is ours.
Follow on.
So then to quickly, A, have we received the funding? I don't know about that. And B, I think it's safe to say that they have followed through in everything that they have done and proposed so far. So I have no hesitation in supporting them as they say they work through their steps and look toward the completion and expansion. I have no hesitation in supporting that because they have actually proven to be the best partner we have. So, but I don't know if we've received the.
Director Harvey.
Through you, Chair, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Moore. We have yet to receive that. The application and the project report was just submitted yesterday. And we're hoping to hear from the province back on that. But there are a number of conditions that the province have related to this. And so it's in my staff report, but suffice it to say, we're hoping we're successful with this and we can move this forward.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin.
Thank you. And as a follow-on to Councilor Moore's question, Director Harvey, is this a check for $35 million? Or does the township need to spend the money and then we recoup up to 15% of the total of the 168 build? So we have to spend the money and then at certain points throughout the project, we receive the money back. There is no check for $35 million.
To you, Mayor Coughlin, that is correct. There is a number of criteria there. Upon execution, we would get 25% of the funding. Upon award of a contract by the landowners group, then in consultation with the province, if they're comfortable with that award, then we would receive 60% of the funding, but we do not get the money up front. No, the money has to be spent. And to the mayor's point, there's some milestones that we have to do, and there's an upset limit to technically it's 15% of whatever we spend is what the funding's eligible for. So just so the team knows what's there as well, is there is not a commitment to what we had wanted for the ultimate plant right now. It's going to be a phased approach. And so it's still to be determined exactly what we're going to build.
Nope. Anybody else? The only comment I have to make is it doesn't sound that unusual to me, to be quite honest with you. If there's a build going anywhere, even if you're building a house, there's a certain amount of money that your financial institution will release to get things going. And then as you progress, they give you more dose. So the provincial government's just basically following what is a general kind of a thing on that. So if there's no further discussion, could you read the amendment, please, Clerk Marshall?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Cabral. So the amendment reads that the motion now before council be amended as follows to add that staff and township engineers, Ainley, be directed to review the correspondence and report back to council.
Any further comments? If not, then we'll have the vote. All those in favor? That's carried. Then I'll turn the chair back over to you, Mayor Coughlin.
Thank you. We're moving on to 7.3, correspondence dated June 13th, 2025 to the Midhurst Landowners Group regarding the June 4th, 2025 WSP Growth Management presentation. May I have a mover and seconder for the correspondence item? Councillor Garwood and Councillor Alexander, that correspondence from the Midhurst Landowners Group dated June 13th, 2025 regarding the June 4th, 2025 WSP Growth Management presentation be received, and that township staff and engineers be directed to review the correspondence and report back to council. Comments or questions on this? Deputy Cabral?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Appreciate that. And I appreciate seeing it on the agenda. I know I sent you an email asking if it could be added, so that's kind of nice to see that it was, only because it's pertinent to what's going on. I did want to speak to a few things in the letter that I thought were very noteworthy and kind of gives us more of a bit of a path and a better understanding. Anyway, with respect to the background piece, I thought it was interesting that phases 1 and 2 of the municipal class environmental assessment for water, wastewater, and transportation servicing for the Midhurst secondary plan commenced in 2008. Notice of completion was issued 2009. Among the options considered for water and wastewater servicing was the extension of municipal services from the city of Barrie. This was not the preferred alternative, due mainly to cost. In 2009, the cost of the Barrie servicing alternative was $119 million. In 2025 dollars, that cost is approximately $175 million. However, we know that the cost of infrastructure has ballooned over the past 10 years. There are multiple Ontario examples demonstrating this, and while there are, as illustrated in the following cases, case in point, Town of Collingwood Water Treatment Plant, March 2022, cost estimate was $121 million. Cost in 2023, based on bids received, $270 million, a 223% increase. Town of Erin Wastewater Treatment Plant, original cost estimate was $67 million. 2023 updated cost estimate was $129 million, a 193% increase. Regional Municipality of York, 19th Avenue Roadworks, 2017 cost estimate was $13.7 million. The 2023 updated cost estimate was $43.3 million, a 316% increase. The Region of Durham Development Charge Roadworks projects, total regional roads gross costs in 2018 was $1.25 billion. Total regional roads gross costs 2023 dollars was $2.63 billion, a 210% increase. And the town of Bradford, West Gwillimbury, Southwest Arterial Road projects, including roadworks, water mains, and sanitary force main. The 2013 cost estimate was $30 million. 2023 cost estimate, $55.4 million, a 185% increase. Given the examples that they shared, it would be reasonable to expect that the cost of the City of Barrie servicing solution today could be at least double the 2009 cost estimate. And they give us an example, $350 million in 2025. The other piece that I thought was very interesting here, outside of the $350 million, was the redevelopment of the Bayfield Street corridor. The WSP presentation also referenced the Bayfield Street Corridor Study completed in June of 2021 by WSP. The study builds on the policies of the Midhurst Secondary Plan, providing more refined direction and guidance for intensification and a mix of uses along the Bayfield Corridor. The vision for the Bayfield Corridor is to see the area provide a new focal point for Midhurst with mid-rise residential and retail commercial uses consisting of approximately 1,800 new residential units and 42,000 square meters of new retail and commercial space, generating approximately 700 new jobs. In 2023, Springwater Council unanimously supported requests for minister's zoning orders made by Remington and Sadlon for their properties fronting onto Bayfield Street at the south end of Springwater, north of the Barrie border. Servicing for these two sites was to be determined at that time. Given the vision endorsed by Council in 2021 for the Bayfield Street corridor, servicing Remington and Sadlon lands through the Midhurst wastewater treatment plant could facilitate Council's vision for the Bayfield Street corridor by extending services and servicing through the corridor. This could significantly advance the timing through which Springwater would realize the benefits of redevelopment, including a mixed-use Main Street focal point in the community, together with enhanced property tax assessment, additional property taxes, development charges, and jobs, to name a few. The cost to extend linear water and wastewater infrastructure to the Remington and Sadlon properties from the existing constructed linear infrastructure is estimated to be $15 million. That's a distance of approximately 2 kilometers at $7,000 a meter. Based on presentations to Council made by Remington and Sadlon regarding proposed development yield, the cost per unit basis is estimated at $6,000. Factoring in development potential set out in the Bayfield Street corridor study reduces the cost per unit to $3,500. And this speaks volumes not only about the Bayfield Street corridor visioning, but also the efficient servicing of these lands. And it makes no sense that the City of Barrie incur costs in the hundreds of millions of dollars to service two parcels of land only to see Springwater Township lay a pipe right to those lands to facilitate and complete the Bayfield Street corridor vision. Additionally, through the Midhurst Secondary Plan and the subsequent Bayfield Corridor Study, there is an expectation from our residents that these plans, since they've been hearing about them for years, would move forward together through Springwater Township for the benefit of Springwater residents. And the idea that our mayor has voiced opposition to expanding beyond the Midhurst Secondary Plan framework, which we spoke about earlier on, something the province has prioritized loudly and clearly over these last few years, would simply mean that these lands, if annexed to the City of Barrie, would see the City of Barrie develop them with homes, businesses, commercial and industrial, while affording no control whatsoever to Springwater Township, and the loss to Springwater of hundreds of millions of dollars in development charges and taxation that would benefit Springwater Township residents. It simply makes no sense. So, I got another couple of paragraphs here, but I think the only piece I'd like to point out here too is when we're talking about taxation, a quick look at taxation for 2025. The average home in Springwater is assessed at $497,000, has a 2025 tax levy, county, township, and education of approximately $4,600. Should this property be located in the city of Barrie tomorrow, and that could happen to some of our residents, their 2025 total tax levy, city and education, would be approximately $7,016. So that's something that we have to be mindful of too, because it also impacts all of the residents that are in Springwater Township if annexation does take place. And it also impacts all the residents of Simcoe County as a whole, because those development charges and taxation no longer are shared with the county for the services that they provide to us. So this here letter, I think, says a lot more than just what they can do and correct a few what they consider to be inaccuracies in the WSP plan. But I did want to reference the letter because folks might not read it, but hopefully they get a gist of what it says.
Any further comments or questions? Councillor Moore?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I think that is a fantastic point to bring up, Deputy Mayor Cabral, because the Bayfield Street corridor, in my opinion, has been overlooked a little bit. We've been focused on other things, and the Bayfield Street corridor is so very important to sort of the entrance into Springwater, but also what the economic outfall could be if the vision that this council had and promoted over many councils came to fruition, as well as the county. And so I'm wondering if we could even resurrect the county vision for the Bayfield Street corridor, because that was a great presentation also, and the Township of Springwater Bayfield Street corridor vision. And if we could maybe bring those as part of the standing item piece on our agenda, or make them available to our residents. I think that's very important.
Councillor Fisher?
I think the deputy mayor brings up a very good point, that some of our residents would end up in Barrie, and we would be saddling them with additional tax. Overnight, they would be taxed at a much greater rate. And I do agree, and I thank the deputy mayor for reading it aloud. Many people don't read it or don't understand it, and it is lengthy. But base level, they need to know that those are our friends and neighbors, fellow Springwater residents, that they could be significantly impacted by this should it go through. And people, whether on either side of the line, need to know that this will affect them. If they stay in Springwater, your taxes will go up. That's from Ward 5 to Ward 1. It will go up. The county will experience increased taxes, but those people who do end up in Barrie, because people on council didn't fight for them, it'll be a rude awakening when they have to pay their tax bill as well.
Anything further on that? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that has carried. We are now moving on to committee recommendations. We have a mover and seconder for the memo for the Agricultural Advisory Committee's resolution regarding the City of Barrie boundary proposal. I'll turn to Councillor Fisher and the seconder, please. Deputy Cabral, that the Agricultural Advisory Committee's resolution regarding the City of Barrie boundary proposal be received for information. I will now turn to Councillor Fisher.
Yeah, just a few comments. One, that the Agricultural Advisory Committee submits to Council that the committee is firmly opposed to the annexation of agricultural lands to the City of Barrie. The Agricultural Committee is in place to advocate for agricultural issues in the municipality of Springwater. And I can tell you, after the discussion and subsequent discussions that I've had with not only members of that committee, but members of the agricultural community, they are firmly opposed to annexation. And there has been a realization, I'll call it. They do realize that growth will happen, and some of that in time may take place on agricultural lands. However, as one farmer, a very astute one, said to me, once again, do we not want to capture that money, right? Do we want Barrie to do it, or do we want us to do it? So, and I'll move on to my next point about the agricultural committee meeting of June 10th. It says here the committee met with Mayor Coughlin to discuss the Barrie boundary proposal. If that's exactly what happened from its onset, I would have been happy. I believe in transparency with the agricultural community. They are a large part and a vibrant part of our community. But I was displeased. I was displeased, frankly, with you, Mayor Coughlin, and you led the conversation by asking the committee, landowners and farmers in this municipality, what they thought their taxation should be should this annexation happen. And as I said in that meeting, well, first of all, I found those questions leading, right? You were engaging them in a conversation about what it would be and how they would accept it should it happen. As I said to you in the meeting, so this should be of no surprise, you sidestepped the real issue. You were not asking them if they thought the boundary proposal should go through. You were not asking them about their lands. You were asking them about their taxation and leading them, as I said, down the garden path with it. I've taken a week. It's been over a week since then. Typically, I cool down from a situation like that, but I think you acted with a level of contempt for the farmers and the No.
Point of order. And as we will continue our meetings on a go forward basis, I will ask you to afford me the same level of respect that you offer to our staff and this chamber and the positions that we hold. To suggest that I have a level of contempt for our agricultural committee is out of order.
Coughlin, I said that I believe you acted with a level of contempt.
And again, Councillor Fisher, I'm going to ask you to uphold.
I don't think I did anything wrong. I believe you acted in that manner. I'll continue. I believe you sidestepped the question in order to get them to go along with this and allow them to seemingly allow you to negotiate on their behalf when they were not giving you that right. So that's how I feel about that. I don't believe you acted. I don't believe you acted well in that meeting. I believe it was misleading, and go ahead. I believe it was misleading. I'll leave it for there for now. I'm sure you have comment.
Thank you. And on the onset of this, I did through our clerk's office contact the chair and asked the chair permission and asked the chair exactly to put on the agenda the opportunity to discuss with our agriculture, this advisory committee, understanding that the advisory committee does not want this to happen. Should it happen, how do I best negotiate? How do we as a council ensure that there's an opportunity for us to put in writing, put in the principles of the agreement and eventually the contract that there's something in there that can ensure that generational farmers can continue to farm? How can we help do that? Is there a possibility? Is there examples? And I came and I asked the committee, are there examples through boundary adjustments, through amalgamations, through annexations, where examples across Ontario that they would consider best practice so that we could incorporate that into this agreement? That was the intent. That went through the chair, through staff. There was no contempt. I followed the proper process. I showed up. I asked calm, collected questions and was continually interrupted throughout the meeting. So to suggest that I had contempt or that I was being misleading, I absolutely was not. As you were aware, I received direction. I said thank you, and I carried on. There was no contempt, there was no misleading, and there was no ill intent. And you suggesting that at this table will not be tolerated. Deputy Correll.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I just, you know, when we're talking about farms and subdivisions, I'll tell you right now, they can't coexist. It's not going to happen. to suggest to a farmer that when the subdivision goes in next door to his property, that he's going to be able to continue to farm in his own original fashion, it's just not going to happen, especially if they are, say, pig farmers or chicken farmers, or they're spreading on their field. It's just to suggest that that could be the case, I don't believe it would be. And you know what, Mayor Coughlin, I would like to actually ask everybody on this table whether they're in support of annexation with the city of Barrie or not, because you used the word agreement and contract already. We've already seen a joint proposal between the city of Barrie and Springwater Township that was not formulated with this council as a whole. So I would like to know, because I certainly don't support it. I think we should wait, like Oro Medonte, till the end of the day to make those deliberations. I keep hearing this: if we're not at the table, we're going to get locked right out. Well, I guess that means that Oro Medonte is going to get locked right out, and that doesn't seem to be the case. But that's some of the rhetoric I've heard out there, is that it'll be like another situation in another place, and I don't necessarily buy into that. So for me, I don't support it. But come the end of the facilitation process, if that's where it goes, and there's a number of acres that are provided, then I think that's when we look at what this council can do in the form of a negotiation. I think that's exactly what Oro Medonte is looking to do. And as you know, the county itself said that if they're not part of it, they will oppose it. So I just keep hearing these two words, and I don't like it, because that's not the sentiments of this council as a whole, I believe.
Thank you. And so we are on item 8, which is the Agricultural Advisory Committee's resolution. So if there's any further comments on this item, we can continue with that. I understand that these microphones create comment. I have Councillor Alexander and then Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. So back to the matter at hand. I think it's important that we recognize the opinions of the Agricultural Committee. We continuously talk at this table, as well as at the county level, the province level, the importance of the agricultural community, and that the importance of it in the province of Ontario, as well as the township of Springwater. So to that end, I know we're just receiving this, but I would potentially put on the floor an amendment that this piece, if it needs an amendment, gets set to the provincial facilitator as well. Again, just whether or not this council agrees one by one with the statements of the Agricultural Committee or not. They are a committee. They have important views, and I think it's important that the facilitator knows what their views are on this.
Thank you. And I think that can just simply be a friendly amendment. We wouldn't require it. Council, I see a lot of nods. Councillor Fisher?
Mayor Coughlin, you can be offended by what I said if you'd like. However, I do know what I saw, and I don't mind reporting it back to council. I mean, you can paint yourself as benevolent being there, but I know what I saw, and I'm glad I was there to draw attention to it.
And thank you. And it's not benevolence. It's actually my job, and you are assigned to the committee. So both of us were there doing our job. Anything, Councillor Garwood?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I as well was in the audience that evening. I attended as a member of the public. I had never been to an Agriculture Advisory Committee meeting prior to the June 10th meeting, and I thank some of the members for the invite. I think it's an excellent committee. I think the conversation was an important one to have had that evening. Trying to summarize some of the conversation around the table, understanding that there is a resolution that the committee has put forth, and I think it was relatively significantly supported around the table. Of course, the committee is there to protect agricultural interests in this municipality, and it would make absolute sense that the Agricultural Advisory Committee would be against any sort of annexation, as I think the word annexation is often utilized. I don't think anyone's for annexation. No one wants to see something taken with nothing given back in return. I think in a perfect world, things stay as they are, and we manage things internally within the township of Springwater. But at the same time, I thank the mayor for being there to have the conversation. I encourage other members of council to go to future meetings, understanding only three of us can be there at the same time. But understanding that I learned a lot that night from the folks that speak for our agricultural community. And some of those folks have great insight that can advise this council. That's why they're there, right? And I said it at the last meeting or two meetings before that. If we're not listening to the committee, if we're not understanding what their concerns are, what their passions are, what they want us to advocate for, then why have the committee if we're not going to utilize that resource? So I appreciate both perspectives that have been brought back tonight here, but at the end of the day, it's an important conversation to have, even if it's a challenging one.
Anything further? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that has carried. We are now moving on to item 9.1, our action reports. May I have a mover and seconder, please? Councilors Moore and Fisher, that the action reports 9.2 and 9.3 be received and that the recommendations contained therein be approved as presented. 9.2 is the Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund Transfer Payment Agreement and Authorization, and 9.3 is the award of the ice resurfacing procurement, Zamboni 450LI. Are there any comments or questions on either of these? Deputy Corral?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I just wanted to reach out through you to Director Culver. If you could just kind of real quickly and briefly explain about the Zamboni, because it's an electric one, right? Just what the experience may have been in other municipalities. You and I had a discussion, and I'm not suggesting that I want to hear the bad stuff. What I really would like to hear is the good stuff. So if you'd be able to share that with us, that'd be great.
Director Culver?
Thank you, Mayor. So the choice to move to an electric powered ice resurfacer is largely based on eliminating the CO and CO2 outputs of traditional fuel operated machines. Obviously, you're in an arena environment; it's a closed environment, and air handling is really, really important. Adding in an extra burden of having to manage the exhausting of those fumes is difficult, especially in our arena. So moving to the electrical system removes that. In terms of performance, personally, I've had experience with electrical machines going back, I think it was about 6 or 7 years ago now. Most of my colleagues across the province are moving to electrical. There really hasn't been a drawback. A lot of the early issues have been solved, and so electric ice resurfaces are actually more or less becoming the standard for most operations, especially in the municipal setting. So hopefully that helps.
Thank you for that. Councilor Moore? Just your microphone, thank you.
9.2. I'd like to speak to 9.2 if we could, please.
Councilor Moore?
Thank you. Is that okay? Didn't know if you heard me. Through you, Mayor Coughlin, to Director Harvey. So going back to the Hughes funding. In the report, I just want to reiterate that it says in the report that the MLG's consultants have undertaken and completed the engineering design and tendering process for the construction of phase 1 of the ultimate wastewater treatment plant, preparing to award the contract for its construction through the group trustee, and for the township to make the Hughes funding available to the MLG. So regardless of where it goes initially, our plan is to make the Hughes funding available to the MLG. The township will need to enter into the external works agreement for construction of the ultimate plant. Such an agreement may also include details regarding the service allocation for township projects in Midhurst. Can you speak to that, please? And whose allocation, what are you saying in that sentence, please?
Director Harvey?
Yeah, through Mayor Coughlin to Councillor Moore. So what I'm outlining there is that for consideration of the funding, which is significant funding, and so now the township's a participant with the landowners group, that we would probably want some allocation for township projects Because currently in the allocation ledger that the trustee has, there is nothing in there for the township as it relates to allocation. So in consideration of the funding, I'm suggesting that through our external works agreement, we talk to our solicitor. We have clauses related to how we would, as I mentioned earlier, the cost sharing funding mechanism, the cost recovery mechanism. And we'd also probably want consideration that somewhere in that ledger is allocation for the township. We may not have a timing for that, but that would be things like the community hub, that would be like the fire station. Those are things that come to mind. It may be something, as we discussed earlier, related to the Bayfield Street corridor. Some of these things, they are not contemplated currently in that design nor in that ledger with the MLG.
Councillor Moore?
Thank you. 2 questions. You have, just to confirm, you have not had that conversation already with the MLG? And 2, are you saying that the funding would not be offered or not be, as in here, made available to the MLG if they did not, or if you did not come up with an allocation agreement? From what I understand, they own the allocation at this point. So I'm trying to understand what it is you're proposing.
Through you, Mayor Coughlin. So for clarity here, what I'm proposing is, and it will be for up to council to consider, is that with that external works agreement for the funding up to the 35 million that we're putting on the table, that I'm assuming we might have an ask. And the ask might be that we want some allocation and a ledger somewhere in the ledger that we have some of that. Currently, you're correct. They have allocation is all the MLG because obviously they've been paying for the infrastructure to date. The dynamics have changed when we're now at the table and we're funding a portion of it. And I think with that, I'd probably in that external works agreement, we'll come back to council and say, you know, we'll seek direction as to what you might want for the 35 million.
I think it's important to note that the existing agreement does not speak to the hub, the fire hall, the proposed medical facility, and any initiative that this council wants to bring on as a priority to us. It's simply not considered. So I think that the opportunity that's before us is that if we're going to become not wanting a seat at the table or to be part of the MLG, but if we're going to become partners financially in this, I think that the priority of this council needs to be considered, and it simply just needs to be in writing. I think that it's known what our priorities are, but I think it needs to become part of the agreement. Councillor Alexander.
Thank you, Mayor Collins. So I wanted to circle back just to a comment, because we're well on our way with the fire station. What is the plan for wastewater for them?
Director Harvey.
Yeah, through Mayor Coughlin to Councillor Alexander. So currently there's a septic system and they're on their own servicing, both EMS and fire. Through the site plan development, we worked through that design so that we made it relatively easy for them to connect down the road. The septic systems are in the front of the buildings. So that was part of the input that I had as it relates to the development of those sites. That's what we're hoping we can achieve down the road is a connection to there, to the force main that's being constructed right now so that servicing can be provided to the fire station.
Follow on.
Thank you. Okay, so that makes a bit more sense. But have we had conversations with the Midhurst Landowners Group about this to date? I would hope we had.
Director Harvey.
Yeah, it's you, Mayor Coughlin, and that's, sorry, I should have answered that for Councillor Moore. That was a two-parter. Yes, we have. And so I brought it up, and obviously it was part of the conditions that we thought if we were successful with the funding that it's been brought to the table. But to the mayor's point, there's nothing in writing yet.
Deputy Cabral.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I guess through you to Director Harvey. Obviously, the installation of a septic system was a fairly significant cost. So while, in my opinion, it would be nice to be able to hook up to the sewer system, to be quite honest with you, I like to get my dollars and value out of the septic bed before that happens. So, I mean, 20 years, 30 years, you might get out of a septic bed. I would kind of be thinking that as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't be in a hurry to try and hook up anything to the pipe until, you got your usage out of the septic bed beforehand, because once you do, you're paying for it. So why pay for something that you've already paid for today? So my thoughts are like, don't be in a hurry to hook it up. Wait 20 years. This is a problem, because that's the same issue that, we talked about when we were talking about the wastewater treatment plant and the existing residents in Midhurst with respect to hooking up to it too. Are you going to have someone who's just finished refurbishing their septic bed, definitely doesn't want to do it because they just spent a pile of dough, and then maybe the guy next door, he's looking forward to it because his septic bed's on its last legs. So just that's my only comment, is don't be in a hurry to do it.
And
Yeah.
thank you. And I think that the discretion, well, Director Harvey can lead council. I think it's to the discretion of council to choose the priorities that would come in play with that. Are there any additional comments or questions on either of these? Deputy Cabral?
Just one more. When we're talking about this agreement with respect to allocations, is that something that's going to be coming back to council, or is this something that's just going to be an agreed to thing? Because I would like to make sure that whatever comes of it is something that, aligns with what council might like to see going forward as well, not simply just an agreement that's going to be made between two parties going down the road. So I guess that would be my question. Is it coming back to council again for, okay, thank you.
And for clarification on that too, the two parts. So the council priorities that could be attached to the Hughes funding would come back to council, but as far as the allocation and the cost sharing agreement and the schedule within the Midhurst landowners group will not come back to council. That's their own prerogative. So what this council may have the opportunity to decide is council directed initiatives. Director Harvey?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Coughlin. So that's correct. I mean, obviously, we'll bring back that agreement. The reason that the Hughes funding isn't, it's time sensitive, so I wanted to bring that forward now before obviously a break, and we're dealing with the province. So you'll see both of these, but my hope was to have the other agreement here for you for consideration as well. That's being drafted between the lawyers, between the landowners group and our lawyer. But yes, we want clauses in there related to how that's laid out. My preference would be to bring back to council and maybe have a discussion on what those priorities might be. But I wanted to be able to just put a slot in there with the landowners group that we have allocations somewhere. We can pull the trigger on it, to your point. I'm not in any rush to pull any trigger on things like the fire station, but it gives us options down the road. And so if we have a slot in there for us, that needs to be consideration that I would like to see.
Not seeing anything further. All those in favor? And that has carried. We're now moving on to our verbal reports. And, oh, sorry, our information reports. Oh, I skipped right over that. Thank you. Item number 10, may I have a mover and seconder for the information reports, please? I have Councillor Garwood and Deputy Cabral that the reports listed herein be received for information, and one is the building services monthly activity report for May of 2025, bylaw services monthly activity report for May of 2025, an update to our road naming policy, our purpose-built rental housing financial considerations, the corporate credit card report for April 2025, and 6 is the check register. I do have item number 4 pulled. Council, are there any additional items we wish to pull for redirection or amendments? So Councillor Garwood,
Just comment on the road naming policy.
anything further to be pulled? Comments or questions on the remaining? Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I just wanted to highlight this report and thanks staff, specifically Senior Planner Stadden, for bringing this forward. Understanding that this was an initiative that was driven from the Cultural and Heritage Advisory Committee. The goal from this update, you would say, the road naming policy has not been updated since 2010, and the goal here was to ensure that local servicemen and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice were highlighted, and that was brought to the attention when our staff work with our development community. In the report, staff have outlined that staff will be updating the policy to move the names of local servicemen who made the ultimate sacrifice to the top of the list, with additional language to indicate that the list is in order of the township's priorities, which is a nice positive thing to see. Long overdue. And then also a secondary piece that also indicated within the report. I know staff are currently working with community partners like the Legion, the Lions, etc., to work on an appendix to add with appropriate names that can be included for future roads within the township of Springwater. So again, I commend staff for spearheading this and the Cultural and Heritage Advisory Committee for advocating.
Any other further comments or questions on the remaining items? Not seeing any, so we are removing item number 4, the purpose-built rental housing, to be dealt with separately, and we will be dealing with items 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 together. Council, all those in favor? And that has carried. We'll move on now to item 4, the purpose-built rental housing. I have this pulled by Deputy Mayor Cabral, and I seconder, please. Councillor Moore, and I will turn to Deputy Cabral.
Thank you, Mayor Collins. This came up earlier on through a presentation that was made to council by the Claros Corp. And they spoke about this, and this was in respect of the purpose-built rental housing that they wanted to put into their development. And they indicated that they'd been doing this in other areas. They also made mention of some provincial policy that was out there to assist with these purpose-built housing and rental units by reducing taxation and DCs on them in order to facilitate building more and making them more affordable, those types of things, as opposed to maybe living in an apartment. Folks can have a residential setting on a small street and it fits in with everything else. And they were, I think, 4 plexes that they were looking at. Anyhow, went back to staff, and staff came back with their report. And as it turns out, it is, and I noticed this at the time, that the examples that they were giving that had participated to do these tax reductions was in fact upper tier municipalities. Some of them were cities, for lack of a better term. Anyhow, what I would like to do is propose an amendment, and I think that Clerk Marshall has it set up so that we can forward this to the county, because it's under their jurisdiction per se to look at this and see whether it's something that they would like to do, but for this council to endorse it so that we can also provide it to the county and let them know that we are in support of it. We offer currently some discounted taxation, but I think the max on this is 35%. So that's the reason for the amendment, and I would like the clerk, if she would be so kind, to read the amendment. I think that'll give council members the gist of what we're talking.
Clerk Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. The Deputy Mayor's proposed amendment reads that the staff report and item 4.1 of the May 7th agenda, being the Claros Midhurst presentation titled A Midhurst Heights Progress Update, be forwarded to the county, and that Springwater Council supports the new multi-residential subclass for purpose-built rental housing and requests that the County of Simcoe consider its adoption.
Thank you, and I have a seconder for that, please. Councillor Moore. And Council, we will be vote unless there's any comments or questions. Not seeing any. On the amendment, please, Council. All those in favor? That has carried. And we'll move now back to the main motion as amended. Any further comments or questions? All those in favor? And that is carried. And now we will move on to our verbal reports, and I will turn to Deputy Cabral for the county update.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I'm going to disappoint you. I really don't want to speak to the county update with respect to the report on the boundary adjustment, which was really a bit of a focal point at that point in time. But county did produce a report, a staff report. and anybody would like to learn more about it, they are involved and they do have an opinion. They want to be part of it moving forward. And while they're not specifically against a boundary adjustment, they do want to be part of that entire negotiation, mostly because it affects residents of Simcoe County as a whole and also affects the county's ability to provide the services and facilities and look after the infrastructure and roads and whatnot, because it would present a reduction, a potential reduction in taxation that the county currently enjoys to provide those services to us. So that was the only thing that was there. But like I say, I don't really want to speak about some of the comments that came out at that time. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Anything on the transportation?
Yes, there was transportation on Tuesday, a workshop with respect to not only the links, but to actually many, many facets of public transportation, and folks who did submit through a survey what their needs were, what their focuses were. There was talk of integration of the municipal public transit with the counties. There was a discussion on enhancing it, but it basically came down to a balancing point with, you know, the types of services that the county can reasonably afford to put in place, and what is actually I guess affordable. Because what I learned, and I didn't know this before, is that outside of, you know, government funding from the federal or provincial government, for some of it seemed to be capital costs in some cases, ridership really only pays about 6%. So the other you know, 84% or whatever is actually picked up through taxation and through funding from other levels of government. So that was very interesting. So once again, it's a saw off between what's available, how much it costs, and affordability. But if you get an opportunity, I know our township Facebook page does have a link to the county's survey, and I would encourage anybody who's listening to please pop on there and have a look. The public transit system in the county is still, you know, in I would say the baby stages, just getting to the toddler stage, and they're looking to really try and provide some enhancements to it. So it's moving around, it's carrying people, but it's not as robust as it possibly could be. So, you know, resident input is extremely important on that. So I'll leave it unless you want to add something else, Mayor.
I think it, just on top of that, that our communications officer has pushed it on our social channels. It's on our website, and definitely encourage people to participate. The county's had over 300 residents respond already. So the more information we get, the better it can be. And I think that it was just more of a debate between having a stop in every single small town or every point. And if that was the case, it would take a bus 11 hours to get across the county. So trying to find the difference between the effective runs and what they were calling the milk runs. So thank you for that. I will move on to municipal updates. Councillor Garwood and Councillor Alexander.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Just a few items I want to mention. This coming Saturday, I've mentioned it a few times here at this table, but the Elmville Ballpark celebration will be taking place June 21st at 14 George Street, which is just behind the arena in Elmville, 7 to 9 p.m. To turn on the lights for the first time. Again, this council was a big part of ensuring that that project continued with a $37,000 donation to that project. So once again, I'd like to thank this council. Secondary to that, on Canada Day, before you head to Phelpston for the fireworks, which I'm sure Councillor Alexander will speak about, head to Heritage Park in Elmville from 1 to 4 p.m. We'll have the Lions Club there serving free food for the afternoon, live music on stage, and a celebration to honor 25 years of Heritage Park in Elmville, which is pretty exciting. And I wanted to end with a thank you to our staff. As many folks know, last Thursday evening, was our Springwater Swing. Every year, this has been my third tournament as a part of this council, and I'm consistently impressed with the professionalism and the work that is put into this tournament each year. So Deputy CAO Ainsworth, please share a thank you with your team. I know there's many, many, many people that come together for that initiative. So I know we all had a great day, and I know we were all there supporting it as well, with the funds raised from that going back to local initiatives. So again, thank you.
Counselor Alexander?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. So just two things. One, just this past Saturday, Hillsdale hosted a Fire Smart community barbecue. I would like to thank the fire department for participating, as well as the Springwater Library was there. The Lions Club did the barbecue. The county was there. There was a lot of different booths. It was a steady stream of people all day long. And some great information was received, especially I loved seeing the young kids, interact with the fire department as well as with some of the county in terms of, understanding forest fires and not even just, but just all of that. There was some really great communication and almost activities that were done. So it was a great job done by all. So it was a great event. And then building off of Councillor Garwood, yes, Phelpston will do their annual Canada Day fireworks on July 1st at dusk. These are community-based, so everybody is invited and there's no cost to get in, but the ask is that you do provide a donation of fireworks, because that is how we light them all off, and it is always a great event, and I hope to see a lot of people there again. Thank you.
Counselor Fisher?
First off, quick question to Councillor Garwood. Because it's 7 o'clock start, I'm assuming the lights go on when it gets dark. So if somebody's a little bit late for Midhurst, what time would I expect the lights to go on?
Thank you. Through the mayor to Councillor Fisher, the lights will be put on at dusk. So let's say roughly halfway through that 7 to 9. We know right around now it's still light outside. We're trying to keep it family friendly, so understanding it won't be pitch dark. But if you get there a bit halfway through, the light should be on for everyone to enjoy. And again, on the topic, I know there's been an invite sent out, but all of council is invited. Please, again, the Township of Springwater has been a huge part of this initiative, and I know the community is appreciative.
Counselor Moore?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Last week, I was able to join the Friends of Weeduke lookout at the Chippewas of Rama First Nation Chief and Council. And we did a presentation on the update of the lookout. And it was so impressive. They were so impressed, I have to say. But I also wanted to remind folks that the grand opening, the invitation for the grand opening is next week, and hoping all of council or most of council will be able to make it and join us and meet the chief and council. They'll be present too, as well as the Friends group and a lot of the community members that have made this lookout be what it is. So I know I'm on key duty this weekend. I don't forget, but I'm hoping that we can still have council members reach out to do the opening because we have some openings left. Thank you.
Not seeing any further updates. I definitely wanted to take the opportunity to thank our staff for the Springwater Swing. It was an incredible success, not just because the weather was great, but because of the efforts that you put into it. We are able to make a very significant contribution to the Season Center of Grieving Children to honor Nicole Odette. I'm looking forward to that, and just again thanking our community partners, our sponsors, and all the effort that has gone into that day. So I haven't got the final numbers yet, but I'm going to suggest that this was our most successful tournament to date. So congratulations to all involved, and thank you very much to our council for the support. Moving on to our notices of motion, I will turn to Councillor Garwood. Oh, sorry. This is a notice of motion regarding the Elmvale Sweet by Nature promotional video moved by Councillor Garwood, looking for a seconder, Councillor Fisher, and I will turn to Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Whereas the Elmvale BIA works with its members, council, and other stakeholders to ensure that Elmvale continues to be a dynamic area for great shopping, dining, professional services, and cultural opportunities. And whereas the Elmvale BIA approved funding to produce a promotional video titled Elmvale Sweet by Nature with a total project budget of $5,000 and is seeking financial partners to complete the project. Now therefore be it resolved that $1,000 in financial support be provided to the Elmvale BIA from the Ward 1 Councilor's Discretionary Fund to support the promotional video titled Elmvale Sweet by Nature.
Thank you. And comment, Councillor Garb.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. So just further to this, we've actually been quite successful. I say we, meaning the BIA, and community outreach to fund this project. Again, I've said this many times at this table, the BIA works with a significantly limited budget, a budget that has not been adjusted in over a decade. So the BIA tries to do a lot with very little. On that topic, many years ago, there was a promotional video. You can call it a lengthy commercial, if you want to call it that. That was distributed everywhere, and the businesses saw significant benefit. It mentions the Township of Springwater significantly in those resources and various activities within the Allenville community and surrounding area. We have partners from other groups like the Floss Agricultural Society, the Allenville Maple Syrup Festival, who have signed on to supporting this initiative. And the BIA had approached me, understanding that we have discretionary funds that can be utilized to support these important community initiatives. I know it's the second council meeting in a row that I've come forth with a recommendation, but it's nice to see that if the funds are going to be taxed and utilized, that they're put directly back where they should be put, back in the community. So if anyone has any questions, happy to answer them. And the video would be done by next year. It is a year-long project that captures everything from April and the Maple Syrup Festival through to April of next year, with the video being released. And I'm happy to bring it to council once it's done.
Councillor Fisher.
First off, I'm in support of it, so it's great. But roughly how long will the video be, and where do you expect to air the video?
Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Through you to Councillor Fisher. I believe the first video was between 4 and 6 minutes long, so it is significant. In the past, and this is what I understand, obviously I wasn't a part of the BIA at that time, but chunks of the video were utilized as more of a commercial purpose. Mainly, it's utilized on social channels and online, but as well, the video does get distributed to various tourism centers within the Simcoe County area to be played in lobbies and whatnot. So primarily now, as things move more and more digital, it's been something that's mainly used online.
Not seeing anything further at this time. Council, all those in favor? And that has carried. Moving on to notice of motion from Councillor Ward, the notice of motion regarding the council information package and correspondence item process. A seconder for this, please. Deputy Cabral, and I'll turn to Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Recently, we've had a fair amount of back and forth with items on the council information package, and then they're pulled and put onto the agenda, and there is a process, but a lot of that correspondence was very timely, and I think moving forward, it will fit under the standing item on the agenda. But also noting that the CIP is out every Friday. It used to be part of the agenda package. It's no longer, and I do think things get missed. So my thought is that we move the information on the council information package back onto the agenda. But I realize that there's no agendas in the summer. So the CIP then has to be every Friday and also on the agenda. Bit tedious, but not really. I think the agenda, it does make it a bit longer, but I think the information is useful. And when you skim the agenda, you can pull yourself what the important parts are instead of asking maybe the clerk or CAO to pick out what's important and put that on the agenda as opposed to something else. So my motion really is to have the CIP included in the regular agenda and as well continue to be released every Friday.
Thank you. CAO Ainsworth.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And through this process, staff will flush out other possibilities, look at other municipalities to see what other processes there are out there, and provide a fulsome package to council to make a decision on how to move forward with this. It is council's information, so however it is best delivered to you, that is what we would like to do. So this report will flush all of that information out so that you can make an informed decision.
Deputy Cabral.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Just to comment on this, I have found myself over the course of the last few years since we made this change, stuck between getting something on the agenda, depending on what Friday you hit, it could be 3 weeks before. And by that time, sometimes the information is no longer relevant, or you've missed an opportunity that you might have had otherwise. Previous to that, the correspondence was listed on the agenda. So for me, I liked it that way. Having it both as a council information package and on the agenda for me, I kind of like that. Anyway, hopefully you'll see what other folks are doing and you can bring us back some additional information. I mean, I even struggle with the consent agenda, to be honest with you, because sometimes it gets very, very confusing when we're trying to figure out which one you want to pull, which one you want to comment on. Sometimes you might actually be voting for something that you didn't think you were going to be voting for if you're not paying close attention. Of course, that never happens to me, but I'm sure that, it's happened to other people. Thank you.
Counselor Moore?
Thank you. I think it's also worth noting that we had correspondence that did get on the agenda and then didn't get on the agenda, but if the language in the Municipal Act for strong mayor's powers allows for reports to be put on an agenda without a lot of notice, I'm not sure, but it will be flagged though now, our clerk has advised me that she will highlight that is in fact being used when that report gets on an agenda maybe and appears, not to have the allotted amount of time. So just wanted to highlight that.
And for clarification on that, the webpage will indicate any direction that's been used. This isn't new for that. I think that the direction that was used was that anything pertaining to the city of Barrie, and as this did pertain to the city of Barrie, it became public as soon as possible. So that was the direction that was used on that. Sorry.
Just as a follow-up.
Counselor Moore.
Thank you. So I understand if it's used in that respect, it doesn't show up under the mayoral decisions on the website or on the notifications like we would for a different, if a different decision was made. Is that correct or no?
I'm going to defer to Clerk Marshall. I'm not following. Clerk Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. So in discussions with Councillor Moore and the webpage for Strong Mayor's Powers, we have kind of revitalized it a little bit, recognizing that this is new and kind of looking at what other municipalities are doing. And we did create a section where we highlight or kind of reference all the times the mayor uses her powers, aside from issuing decisions or mayoral directions. So you will see that her proposed bylaw is now listed on there, and then the two pieces of correspondence that strong mayor powers were used are listed now on the website. So it's a little bit easier for council and members of the public to follow. So we have implemented that, as well as just kind of trying to really reference that strong mayor powers is being used when the agenda is updated for council.
Thank you for that. And on top of that, I would like to thank Clerk Marshall and CEO Ainsworth. That is not regulated. That is not demanded. That is a choice of this corporation to ensure that strong mayor powers are as transparent as possible. So thank you for your diligence in that. Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Through you to Councillor Moore, I have no concerns with the motion at this level. Just looking back at the June 6th council information package, just as a reference, so just last week, there was roughly 12 or 13 items on it. So understanding that the direction is that staff report back on potential impacts and alternative options, would your vision be that the consent agenda process would hopefully continue, so we're not going through 12 to 20 to 30 items, understanding some of those CIPs can get quite lengthy, which is great because that's the purpose. So we have information at our fingertips. Understanding our meetings as they are already sometimes bleed into the 3-4 hours. So I just wanted to ensure that we weren't going through items that we didn't need to go through.
See, we're all nodding our heads in yes. All right. Anything further on that? Council, all those in favor? And that has carried. And at this time, I will turn my chair and my script over to Deputy Cabral again.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, but I'm gonna be asking for a friendly amendment, so I think I have to turn this over to somebody else.
Counselor Garwood's got his hand up on the script, or are you just gonna? You said.
Bear with me here, folks. All right, so I see item 12.3, which is a notice of motion regarding the presentation of fiscal impacts of Barrie boundary adjustment. This is moved by Mayor Coughlin, and may I receive a seconder to get this on the floor? Councillor Fisher. Mayor Coughlin, would you like to read the motion?
Thank you, through you, Chair. The motion, no, you want me to read the motion? I'm gonna need that back then.
Do you want me to
Yes,
read the
thank you.
motion? I'll just read the motion. Motion that Watson and Associates Economists Limited be requested to present at the July 2nd, 2025 regular meeting on the fiscal impacts of the Barrie boundary adjustment as presented to council on April 16th, 2025 in closed session. Mayor Coughlin?
Thank you. At our last meeting, I believe the intent of the motion that was passed by council was to pull everything into the public. However, it wasn't specifically labeled or outlined. So in discussion with staff, we were attempting to have Watson presented in person in public, but felt that the resolution at that time didn't specifically outline that. So it's just being brought back to council for clarification. So this could be viewed as housekeeping. So.
Deputy Mayor Cabral.
Thank you. I'm going to propose a friendly amendment. Whether or not it goes through is a different story. The notice of motion is seeking a presentation from Watson and Associates Economists Limited report, which was provided in closed session meeting. And what I'm asking for, and earlier, item 7.2, you referenced that you thought that the Midhurst Landowners Group should be doing a presentation. We also had a meeting last week, I think it was last week, where that topic came up again, and you indicated the same thing, and I agreed with you. So what I'm asking is, because earlier item 7.2 is, what I'm asking is that we add the Midhurst Landowners Group, that they also be permitted opportunity on the same date, July the 2nd, 2025 regular meeting, to make a presentation to council, and that'll afford council an opportunity to ask them questions directly too. So they control the ultimate wastewater plant and are responsible to move the project forward. In my opinion, it only makes sense to permit them the opportunity to make a presentation. And all I can do is reference back that you've made the same comment yourself. So anyway, that's my friendly amendment.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Cabral. I see Deputy CAO Ainsworth.
Thank you, through you to council. That could simply be, I could reach out to the MLG to request that they make a delegation July 2nd. It wouldn't even need to be in this this direction. I can do that. Just if council wishes to have them present, they could submit a delegation as well without even council requiring them to or requesting them to come present. That could be just arranged by making a request to them as well.
Deputy Cabral.
Thank you, Chair Garwood. I'm fine with that. I just don't know whether or not it's not a delegation that the Watson and Associate Economists would be making. So I guess the 10-minute limitation would be my concern. If you reach out to them directly and they are interested in presenting on July the 2nd, would they be provided a time slot, or is Watson only being given 10 minutes? I just don't want to cut them short if there's opportunity to have them do a presentation and have us actually ask questions of them.
Deputy Ainsworth.
Thank you, through you to council. The 10-minute limit is within the procedure bylaw. There is also allowance for an extension of up to 5 minutes by the chair for a delegate. The questions, the question and answer piece is aside from that 10-15 minute time slot. That can go on as long as council has questions to ask. The time limit for consultants that are invited by the township is a little more lax. We do ask them to stick to the 10-15 minute time slot as well. However, sometimes it does go over. But that would be the question and answer period would not be pertinent to that 10-minute time slot whatsoever.
Deputy Cabral, follow on.
Thank you. I'm just wondering if we're going to be reaching out to them to see if they want to make a presentation as opposed to them asking for a delegation, would it be reasonable to assume that they could have 10 or 15 minutes as well? I guess that would be my only question. You've answered the other part about question period. I mean, we've had delegations here. We've spent probably another 20 minutes or 25 minutes asking questions. So that would be fine by me if that's something that you could look into, say tomorrow, and see whether or not they'd be receptive to doing that. It's just, like I say, I've thought about that. The mayor's thought about that. They're the ones who control the plant. It'd be nice to be able to hear right from them what's going on and how they anticipate moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Deputy CEO Ainsworth. Are there any other questions or comments from council? Seeing none, Clerk Marshall, are we making a friendly amendment or are we leaving it as is? As is? And Deputy Mayor Cabral, you're happy with that?
Fine.
With the understanding that, okay, perfect. And I am in agreement. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for bringing this forward. I think it would be great to hear all perspectives on this matter. Seeing nothing further, all those in favor? And that has carried.
Just keep it.
Okay, I will just keep it. I will hold the chair. Moving on to items for future consideration. Are there any items for future consideration? Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Chair Garwood. I'm working on this for next council meeting. I'll read what I have so far, although I've not polished it up, and I'll provide some context and summary. Whereas in December of 2023, council unanimously supported the request for MZOs by Remington and Sadlon for their proposed developments on Bayfield Street at the south end of Springwater. And whereas at the time, servicing for Remington and Sadlon parcels was to be determined. And whereas on June 4th, Council received an update on growth management works by WSP, including the 2021 Bayfield Street Corridor Study, detailing the redevelopment potential for Bayfield Street with Main Street uses, which expands on the 2008 policies of the Midhurst Secondary Plan. And whereas the resolution passed unanimously by Council on February 5th of 2025 directed staff to report back to Council in June with the potential to expand the Midhurst settlement area to include the expansion lands to the south and east. And whereas the MLG provided correspondence on June 13th, 2025, detailing the capacity of the Midhurst wastewater treatment plant currently and with the upcoming Phase 2 expansion, whereas servicing the Remington and Sadlon developments via the Midhurst wastewater treatment plant will extend services through Bayfield Street, the Bayfield Street corridor, and in doing so facilitate the revitalization of Council's vision for the Bayfield Street corridor. And whereas the redevelopment of the Bayfield Street corridor will deliver significant economic and social benefits to the township of Springwater. I'll leave it there as I'm not totally finished. To provide some context, I believe that these MZOs are Springwater MZOs. We did vote on them unanimously, this council and previously. They are Springwater MZOs. And I believe that there's enough talk right now about how they will be serviced. The intent was to have them serviced with Springwater, in Springwater, by Springwater. And I believe we should be pressing pause on these MZOs presently, given that there's some debate around their servicing, until which time we have some clarity. So I intend to bring that forward for the next council meeting with some alterations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fisher, and understanding that it's an item for future consideration, there's no motion required. Deputy Mayor Cabral.
Sorry, usually is there not something that says notices of motion and then another one that says items for future? Okay, I think it's a notice. It's not on the agenda.
Mayor Coughlin.
Thank you. And typically after we've read the notices to which motions to which notice has been given. We then ask if there's any further notices of motion, which is what Councillor Fisher was responding to. So I think the question now would be, before we move on to items for future consideration, are there any additional notices of motion?
Before we move further, are there any future?
So did I screw up or did you?
I-
So I'm not really sure.
All right, go with me.
Go with
Yeah.
it. All right.
You can clearly see, folks, I don't do this often. Anyway, anything further on this, Councillor Fisher? Excellent. Thank you. Moving on to item number 14, items for future consideration. Are there any items for future consideration at this time? Deputy Mayor Cabral.
I don't know if this is necessarily an item for future consideration, but I think it's been sitting in the background for a long, long time since Elmville got its digital sign. It's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor Coughlin, there was some money still available to put in another sign, and there's never really been anything coming back. I think they were looking at between Phelpston and Hillsdale. I just, if it's on that list, I'd like to see it come back before council so that we can get moving on that. I don't think these things are getting any cheaper. And it did take us a significant amount of time to get the one in Elmville up and running. So I don't know whether that's a new item for future consideration or whether that's something that we could just kickstart again to get it back before us.
Mayor Coughlin.
Thank you. And I think simply asking staff to report back on our digital sign policy and where we sit with that, I think that would be fantastic. I think, and how much it's increased, because that's always a great one. But I do think that it was Hillsdale, Anton Mills, and understanding that when the hub is built, that would be the Midhurst. So that would cover off our gateways. So I think that staff are noted again.
Excellent. And on the deputy mayor's comment, while I have the microphone, I completely agree. We know that the digital sign in Elmville and the northern end of our municipality has been a great resource. We have a digital signage hearing committee that 3 members of council sit on here. And from what I understand, staff are consistently inundated in a positive way for requests to utilize the sign. So there would be a significant benefit elsewhere in our municipality as well. So thank you to the deputy mayor for bringing that item forward. Anything further, council, on items for future consideration? Seeing none, moving to our confirmatory bylaw. May I have a mover and seconder for the confirmatory bylaw? Moved by Mayor Coughlin, seconded by Deputy Mayor Cabral. The bylaw 2025-051 to confirm and adopt the proceedings of council at the regular meeting held on June 18th, 2025, listed herein, be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. All those in favor? Carried. And moving to our adjournment, council, may I have a mover and seconder to adjourn this meeting? Councillor Moore, Councillor Fisher, that the regular meeting of the Township of Springwater does now adjourn at 8:35 p.m. to meet again at our regular meeting on July the 2nd, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you and have a great evening.